See, nowadays, we live in a world where we feel the need to feel accepted, right? We want people of all types and all groups and all different mindsets to accept who we are and feel like we're wanted. But what we don't realize when we're doing that is that we are people pleasing. And being a people pleaser can only get you so far in life, because the problem with people pleasing is that you don't know what it is that you want with your life and what you stand and believe on. So when you are in environments of different groups of people and certain questions come about that you're asked, you find yourself saying something that you actually don't believe in. I'm sure we've all had this where you get asked a question about what are your religious beliefs, for example, okay? And then you know someone may be religious or not religious, and you say an answer based off of what they would accept. But you know, like even minutes later, even seconds later after saying that response, that you don't actually believe that. You just said that just because you felt either you felt obligated to say it, or you felt you didn't want to deal with the conflict that may come with saying an answer that's against the grain, in a sense, of the group. But this all stems from the fact that when you are alone and you are spending time just by yourself, that you don't ask yourself these questions. What do I truly believe in? What do I care for? What don't I care for? How do I want to be known as in this world, right? You are, by people pleasing, you're just morphing into completely different versions of yourself depending on the group that you're with. So for me, when I was in high school, I played on the school basketball team. And like, the basketball team, the football guys, like we were all pretty intertwined. All the parties were together. And I was also like in honors and AP classes. So I'm with, very intelligent kids that aren't necessarily into sports, interests are different. But because I didn't know who I was at that time or who I wanted to be known as, and I was always a nice person. I was always a nice guy, right? I didn't want to not be liked. So the conversations I would have with kids in my honors and AP classes were totally just answers I would give just to feel accepted when I'm in those environments. Versus when I was with the basketball team and I was like wanting to get with girls and I wanted to be in with the cool guys that were especially good like at basketball. I would just say things to feel a part of that group and be able to be a part of that environment and be part of those parties. But what we don't factor in when we people please is people can know you better than you realize. As in, they can see past your BS, the front that you put on to be liked, right? Because if there's never any conflict with the person, you're never going to grow any closer. Think about it, right? Like the way friction works and like tension. Think about the people that you're closest to in this world. Are you telling me that you've never had a single argument with them? Because first of all, that would be insane if you did. But chances are you most likely haven't, right? The people that you're closest with, you both get into an argument or some sort of confrontation because you both believe a certain way and you hash it out, right? You deal with it. You may be upset with each other for whatever the case may be. And then you hash it out. And then you realize that, okay, I respect this person, even though I may not agree with what they're saying. I respect this person because they actually are sticking to what they believe in. And they're saying this when they know I don't even agree with it. But that's what makes me more like, when you respect someone, you naturally feel more comfortable and you feel closer to that person at the end of the day. Obviously, as long as it's not something super personal or anything that is crossing a line. But just like even like religious beliefs, if you tell someone, for example, I'm like a morning person as well. I don't like to stay out super late usually, but I know some of my friends like to. But sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to stay out late. I'd rather start the night earlier. And because of that, my friends understand, because I've communicated the fact that I don't want to stay out late. I don't want to do these things at later times. I'd rather do things earlier in the day. They respect that, and I respect the fact that if they want to stay out later, they can do that. But I'm going to do what I want to do. But some of you guys, and including myself, like I would just kind of conform to like, okay, everyone's staying out late. Everyone's just hanging out still. Like, screw it. Like I'll deal with the repercussions later. rather. But then you keep doing that same cycle because you don't want to deal with that confrontation, right? Like, you would think about it. You would actually rather do something that's detrimental to your life just to please other people and make sure that there's no confrontation. Like, think about that. Like, that's crazy to think about when you think about it. And you keep doing that every weekend. But when you get past that point, when you actually spend the time figuring it out, what it is that you stand on, like, what are your beliefs? What are you things that you care for? What are things you don't care for? How do you want to be known as, right? When you ask yourself those questions and you have answers for it, when you are in different environments with different people, you already have done the work on your own time to understand yourself and understand what you believe, that your mind will already know the answer to questions when they're asked, and you're not even worried about what it is that people might think of you, because at the end of the day, like I said, you will be respected more when you just say what you believe and not saying what you think people want to hear. Because when you say things that people want to hear, you aren't respected and people won't like you. I've dealt with this. I've had friends friends in the past that I noticed were doing that, and it comes around, right? Like, what goes around comes around. If you are being a people pleaser and you're basically just, like I said, you're being fake, then that comes around to other people, and you kind of hear from other people what they have to say, and then you're like, do I really want to associate myself with this person? Like, we haven't had any arguments or anything like that, but what does he truly believe in? Like, what does he truly stand for? And I had this problem too. Like I was mentioning, I dealt with this in college as well. I was in a fraternity in college. I was like a handful of, not a minority rather, but, handful of ethnic kids that were in my fraternity. And it was hard because I wanted to feel accepted. I'm a software engineer. Most people are just business majors. So when everyone's like partying and having a good time, like, I feel like they would all hang out, they would all have classes together, and then I was kind of just, didn't really see anyone until the weekend, really, because I was so busy with school. And then just the conversations that I'd have, I would just try to like be a part of it, right? And just saying things just to, without even realizing it, honestly, I would just say things just to feel like accepted, right? Because it's hard, you're like 18, 19 thinking that, but I'm not friends with most of those people. I'm not close to any of those people to this day. Maybe a couple guys that I was with, but even then, like, not really anymore. So what was it even for? Right? Because like, when you actually stand on what you believe in and you put in that time and effort, you build genuine relationships, right? Like, we look at friction, right? Friction is a good thing to have. There's a healthy level of friction that you need to have with people in life to know if they're meant for you or not. If you just meet a bunch of people and you never have friction with them, how do you know if that person is really valuable in your life, right? So, moral of the story, don't people please, because it's going to come across fake. What goes around comes around. Really spend time by yourself, because when you're by yourself, you'll know exactly what it is that you like and don't like without any external influences influencing you, right? And it's important to do that. Take the time to do that. So when you are in these positions, because you will be around people that you just met or people of different interests, right? And you need to understand how you're still yourself in every single one of those environments. Okay, it's important to be able to have different. It's important to know, to be knowledgeable enough to talk about different things in this world, to like see if people are meant for you. But who you are at the core, that will never change. That should never change, no matter who you're talking to. So I hope you guys like this video. This is my first video on YouTube. It's just raw, unedited thoughts of what I go about my life. Comment, subscribe to me if you like this content. I'm going to be posting as much as possible, and I will see you guys here really soon.